Tonight, deeply concerned, that's the Scottish Government's reaction to the Home Secretary's plans to reform the asylum system. Under the proposals, most asylum seekers will have to wait 20 years to apply to settle permanently, and they'll be returned home if their country is deemed safe. Also on tonight's programme, a diligent student who was always smiling. Tributes are paid to Chloe Hipson, who was killed in a car crash in Ireland.
Coming up in the sports, Scotland captain Andy Robertson calls on the Tartan Army for patience and noise, with the national team just one win away from next year's World Cup.
Very nice to come out in Glasgow and be recognised by the Scottish BAFTA.
And we hear from Ewan McGregor, who was honoured for an outstanding contribution to TV and film at the Scottish BAFTAs. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. This is Reporting Scotland. Within the last hour, the Home Secretary has unveiled plans to overhaul the asylum system in the UK, including changes to the length of time someone will have to wait to apply to settle here permanently. Shabana Mahmood's proposals have divided the Labour Party, while the Scottish Government says it is deeply concerned about the reforms. Some of the key measures announced today include a threat to stop granting visas to people from countries if their governments do not improve cooperation on removals of illegal migrants. Asylum seekers restricted to a single appeal, which, if unsuccessful, will see them deported. And if asylum seekers have assets, they will be made to use them to contribute to the cost of their accommodation. With more on all of this, here's our Westminster correspondent, Paris Gortsianis.
Power to the people!
Tension on the streets over asylum. In Inverness at the weekend, rival demonstrations faced off over plans to house asylum seekers in a disused barracks. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says scenes like these are tearing the country apart, and she wants to stop them. Last month, officials from the Home Office were dispatched to Denmark, a country that has greatly reduced its number of asylum claims while also keeping support for the far right in check. The plan they came back with breaks the link between refugee status and the right to stay in the UK indefinitely. Refugees will also lose automatic financial support and help with housing. Grounds to appeal against an asylum decision will be greatly restricted, and from now on, asylum seekers will only get one chance to make such an appeal. Abdul, a refugee from Syria, now thinks of Rothesay on the Isle of Bute as his home.
Since 2020, I feel like a newborn.
In the future, that home would only be temporary. Refugees will have their cases reviewed every 2.5 years. If their country is deemed to be safe, they'll be told to leave.
I've got my fiancée. My fiancée is Scottish. And I've got a car, I play football here, I've got a friend. So to come back over there from zero again will be very, very hard. I don't know what to do at that point.
Quieter streets today in Inverness, but views were still divided.
I do care very much that people who do need to be received and given safety are made welcome. But I think if you look at what happens in other countries as well, there is a procedure that you have to go through before you would get into Australia, for example. So I think it's only right, as long as it's not too harsh.
Especially in a place like Inverness, the hospitals at breaking point, and you can't get a doctor, surgery, a dentist, and it's bad enough with, we got large income of people coming into Inverness, and immigrants is only exacerbating the situation.
I think we need more asylum seekers. I'm sorry, I may be in the minority, but Scotland needs a bigger population.
Refugees are welcome here.
The UK government's plans will be controversial, including with some of its own MPs. The hope is that the asylum debate can be taken off the streets.
Well, we can speak to Paris, who's in Westminster for us tonight. Paris, the Home Secretary has been on her feet in the House of Commons unveiling these proposals within the last hour or so. First of all, what has been the response from within our own party?
Yeah, so through the day, there's been a small but growing number of backbench Labour MPs who say they have serious concerns with these plans. One of the most controversial elements for them is the withdrawal of automatic financial and housing support for refugees. As you say, the Home Secretary has been speaking, and as well as these tough new measures, she's also promised new safe and legal routes for refugees to come to the UK. They'll be based on sponsorship, so volunteers and voluntary organisations will help meet the need for housing. It's similar to what was done for Ukrainian and Syrian refugees in the past. The fact that the government is likely to get votes from the opposition for these plans means they are likely to pass when they come to the Commons for a vote. But if the government has to rely on Conservative votes, then that is going to increase the alienation of some Labour MPs. And the Home Secretary's speech was partly aimed at them.
To the British public who foot the bill, the system feels out of control and unfair. It feels that way because it is. The pace and scale of change has destabilised communities. It is making our country a more divided place.
It's not enough, but it is a start. And it's also a change. It's a change from her previous position in opposition of a general amnesty for illegal migrants.
So, Paris, we have heard from Kemi Badenoch there, but what has been the wider political response to this?
So the Conservatives have welcomed these plans. They say they'll work with the government to help get them through. They say the UK, though, should leave the European Convention on Human Rights to ensure that future deportations aren't blocked in the courts. The Scottish Government, the SNP, the Liberal Democrats and the Greens have condemned these proposals. They say they're wrong in principle, but also they're impractical. To review everyone's refugee status will cost more, they say, and it'll leave vulnerable people in limbo. Those parties also say the UK government is pandering to reform. For its part, the Reform leader Nigel Farage says the Home Secretary is sounding like one of his members, but he says these plans won't ever come to pass because backbench Labour MPs won't tolerate them. Reform's message is if you want these measures, then you've got to vote for us to get them.
Okay, Paris at Westminster, thank you. A bright and diligent student who was highly regarded. Just some of the tributes paid to a 21-year-old Scottish student who was among 5 killed in a car crash in the Republic of Ireland. Chloe Hipson had moved to Ireland earlier this year to study. She was on her way to a night out when the car she was in was involved in a collision with another vehicle near Dundalk on Saturday. Stephen Gordon reports.
Chloe Hipson was heading for a Saturday night out with friends when tragedy struck on a country road in County Louth. She was one of 5 passengers to die when the car they were travelling in collided with another vehicle. A student who'd only recently swapped life in Lanarkshire for Ireland, the 21-year-old took up a place at Dundalk Institute of Technology in September. As a book of condolence was set up, staff spoke of a student who fitted in immediately and made great friends, describing Chloe as a diligent student who was friendly and good-humoured and always smiling. Before moving to Ireland in the spring, Chloe Hipson studied quantity surveying at South Lanarkshire College. She's remembered here as a bright and dedicated student. The college says its thoughts are with her family and friends. In County Louth, police are investigating what caused the fatal crash. Only one of the 6 occupants in the Volkswagen Golf survived, while the driver and passenger in the other car were treated for non-life-threatening injuries.
The scene was very difficult, in adverse weather conditions, and the professionalism shown by all first responders and the care and respect of the 5 deceased was exemplary.
Among the many tributes being paid to the victims, Chloe's brother's football team, Bells Hill Amateurs, will hold a minute's applause before their game on Saturday. The shock at the loss of her young life and those of 4 others felt on both sides of the Irish Sea. Stephen Gordon, reporting Scotland.
To some of the day's other stories now. The Lord Advocate has said statutory protections for those giving evidence in sex cases have not been affected by a recent Supreme Court ruling. Last week, 5 judges ruled Scotland's courts should change their approach to including evidence about an alleged victim's character or sexual history. Rape Crisis Scotland warned the changes really could put women off reporting. But Scotland's senior law officer, Dorothy Bain KC, says safeguards remain firmly in place. Staff at the University of Edinburgh have begun 3 days of strike action over planned cuts totalling £140 million. The Universities and Colleges Union has called for the university to rule out compulsory redundancies for lecturers, claiming that 1,800 jobs could be lost. A spokesperson for the university said it had to take decisive action to ensure financial stability. The strike is due to continue tomorrow and Wednesday.
We're very worried about the impact of these damaging cuts, which will inevitably result in a worse experience for students and in a decline in our research capacity, as well as degradation of working conditions at Edinburgh.
And the Chief Executive of NHS Fife has announced plans to retire early. Carol Potter made the announcement weeks before a ruling on the Sandy Peggy Employment Tribunal is expected. Ms Peggy was suspended after complaining about having to share a changing room with transgender doctor Beth Upton. Carol Potter faced criticism for the Health Board's handling of the case and will formally step down in the summer of next year. Now, when Storm Amy hit last month, villages on the Ardnamurchan Peninsula in the West Highlands were among the worst affected. Some people were left without power for more than 5 days. SSEN, the company responsible for delivering electricity to their homes, says it's carrying out work all year round to improve resilience. But as we head into winter, some residents say they're concerned the same could happen again. Chris McLennan reports.
Here in this far-flung corner of the West Highlands, Anna's wheel is again spinning. But for 5 days last month, work ground to a halt.
I was unable to fire the kiln, so kind of, get my work to the final stage. I couldn't throw anything on the wheel. Both of these pieces of equipment run on electricity. That's the main bulk of my work as a potter. So yeah, it had a huge impact on me.
Small villages on the Ardnamurchan Peninsula were some of the worst hit by Storm Amy, which brought major disruption to electricity supplies for thousands.
We felt abandoned down here. I know there was thousands of homes that were without power, but all we needed was someone at the other end of the phone to say, OK, Ardnamurchan, we know where you are, we'll get there as soon as we can, X, Y, Z, but 6 days is a long time to be without our facilities.
They did eventually come down with support, but it felt as if we were to survive ourselves and sort of do the work ourselves and the organising, and that's what made it okay. So it was actually our community that rallied, really.
We spent some time with SSEN, which says it is listening to the concerns raised by the community.
We go through a regular sequence after a storm to see what we could do better, what can be improved, and that is one of the things that we've taken from Storm Amy to say what can we do, where can we contact communities before events. The challenge there is something might not happen until multiple years after it, so keeping that refreshed to be able to know where is the best place to provide those facilities.
For the company, work to maintain the power lines doesn't just take place in the aftermath of storms.
This activity is going on every day, year in, year out, to make sure that the network is as resilient as possible and will stand up to weather events and the power does not get interrupted.
But for those in Ardnamurchan, the hope is that full preparations are in place when inevitably the next storm arrives.
I know it's like you can't predict what the weather is, and that's just something we're going to have to live with, but I think from their point of view, all we're asking for is better communication, and it's someone that knows exactly where we live.
As long as this doesn't keep happening, it's going to be okay, but if it's something that's going to continually happen, it definitely will negatively affect my business.
Chris McLennan, reporting Scotland, Kilhone.
Now, it's one of the biggest nights of the TV and film year in Scotland, and last night's Scottish BAFTAs was indeed a star-studded affair. And while there was recognition for some recent productions, there was a special award for Ewan McGregor for his outstanding contribution to film and television. And the actor was keen to highlight his family's role in inspiring his career choice. Our arts correspondent Polly McLean was on the red carpet.
It was a night of celebration for those who work in the industry and the family and friends who support them behind the scenes.
Sometimes you can feel a vibration in Orkney.
The Orkney set film The Outrun won 2 awards, including Best Actress for Saoirse Ronan, who got her co-star Izuka Hoyle to say her thank yous.
To the people of Orkney,
as I have said 500 times and I will say 500 more, this would not have been possible without you. Your willingness to let us into your lives, your homes, your story, thank you, thank you. You have shaped mine and my husband's life in a multitude of ways. Orkney will always be a part of our story. James McArdle, for Mothers.
And while Best Actor James McArdle was there, he was taken aback to win.
My mum and dad are going to kill me because I said don't bother coming, I'm not winning and the tickets are a fortune. I just want to say thank you so much for this. It's a genuine shock, and to my fellow nominees who I've absolutely looked up to forever, David Tennant, who made me want to be an actor, and I've had the privilege of working with David on a couple of days in Mary Queen of Scots, and you were so generous and so kind and showed how to lead on a set, which is by example. So I have always
Ewan McGregor's family were also there to see him receive the outstanding contribution to film and television from the actor who inspired him.
I grew up looking up to my Uncle Dennis. I mean, wanting to be my Uncle Dennis, and wanting to be an actor, like you say, from a very young age, long before I knew at all really what that meant. I just wanted to be like you, you know? It would be remiss of me before I finish to thank my amazing and beautiful wife, Mary. You have made me want to give up acting because I don't like to go away from you. I don't want to leave you. That's why I love to work with you so much. I've been lucky enough to do it 3 times, and I want to do it more and more. Mary and I are now here in Scotland, so to save us the pain of having to be apart, maybe you could come up with lots of Scottish films that we can be in together. Thank you so much.
Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
OK, more drama now with Paul. I don't think I can take much more after that weekend of sports.
Oh, it's a nerve-jangler at the weekend, wasn't
Really
it?
was.
What do you think for tomorrow? Do you think they're going to do it?
Absolutely.
I like
I'm
that
confident.
positivity. Let's wait and see. Thank you, Laura. Hello there. The Scotland captain, Andy Robertson, is calling for patience and noise at Hampden tomorrow as the national team prepares for their biggest game in a generation, a match that Billy Gilmour will miss because of injury. After a bizarre set of results in Group C at the weekend, Scotland faced Denmark, knowing a win will secure qualification for next year's World Cup finals. Here's our sports news correspondent, Chris McLaughlin.
Back from Greece and defeat, but with everything to play for. It's been a strange campaign for this group so far. Some might say fortunate, but they live to fight another day.
There's definitely work to do. We play the pot 1 team. They'll be hurting because they've missed an opportunity to be top of the group already. So always another game. People can speculate and think that there's other bodies that are looking after us. We have to look after ourselves.
So going into the final fixture, this is the state of play. Denmark ahead by 1, meaning if Scotland beat them at Hampden tomorrow, they will qualify. A draw or defeat, and it's the playoffs in March.
We'll be ready to give it all. We hope the fans are ready inside the stadium to get behind us, no matter what. You know, there might be setbacks, there might be frustrations and things like that, but I think, you know, all I can say is get your seats early, get behind the boys, make a noise, make it, you know, an incredible atmosphere for these lads, and then hopefully we react off that.
Today in Aberdeen, confidence and encouragement.
I think we've got a real chance. I mean, not being there since '98, it would be awesome if we could make it.
Just be positive and just get stuck in. I'd love them to win. I really would. It's so good.
At Hampden tomorrow.
Well, Chris is at Hampden tonight. Chris, you were in Greece and you've been around the Scotland squad the last few days. Does this feel like a group of players that truly believe they'll be going to the World Cup next year?
Well, Paul, I think there's one thing having hope and another thing having expectation, and perhaps there's a bit of both. But I think what's been so intriguing and exciting about this campaign is that it's been so unpredictable. Yes, Scotland are on 10 points. Yes, they can qualify automatically with a win here tomorrow night, but they have also had the rub of the green. I don't think many people would disagree with that. That's because they have also been very unpredictable. Even this weekend, very poor in the first half in Athens, and then it was a different story in the second half. But also, who would have predicted that Belarus would have taken points from Denmark, and yet they did. So anyone who thinks they can predict what's going to happen here tomorrow has obviously not been paying attention to this campaign. So hope yes, expect or predict at your peril.
Chris, thank you. That pitch looks immaculate, doesn't it? Well, in Denmark, Scotland face a side bruised by a huge weekend disappointment.
For us, the approach would have been exactly the same. You know, we have considered this as a key game from the beginning of the campaign. We always thought that this would be the final. Now it is the final, and we are ready for it. The good part about tomorrow is that both Scotland and Denmark will still be in the mix after this game tomorrow. But I guess both of us would like to get the direct ticket.
Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney will continue to take charge of Celtic on an interim basis until the process to appoint a new manager is complete. The club's latest update indicates O'Neill will remain in charge for Saturday's Premiership match away to St Mirren, despite Columbus Crew head coach Wilfred Nancy being heavily linked with the role. Rugby, and after a dramatic defeat to Argentina at Murrayfield, the former Scotland scrum half Rory Lawson says he was shell-shocked by the way the hosts collapsed. Gregor Townsend's men appeared to be in complete control, leading 21-0, but then a loose Finn Russell pass led to Blair Kinghorn being sent to the bin for illegally halting the Pumas' attack. It all breathed new life into Argentina, who went on to score 5 tries and win the match 33-24.
It's really difficult as a former Scottish player, as a Scotland fan, to be talking about Scotland as in the top tier of the international game, and then we see 30 minutes of that performance, because at 21-0 you're starting to think seriously about Scotland jumping up a place in the world rankings from 8th to 7th, narrowing that gap to 6th that would put them in the top pool, and then 30 minutes later we find ourselves ranked 9th in the world, having been usurped by Fiji. So it's one of the frustrations, and sadly, the narrative of Scotland being a top team can't change until they put games like that to bed.
Rory McIlroy is now just one behind Colin Montgomerie in DP World Tour Order of Merit titles after the Northern Irishman claimed the Race to Dubai honour for the 7th time. That was despite being pipped by Matt Fitzpatrick at the season-ending Tour Championship. McIlroy's drive on the playoff hole found water, leaving Fitzpatrick in the driving seat to get the job done, but it was all on very good terms for the Ryder Cup teammates. Another Europe team member in the shape of Robert McIntyre finished tied 8th in Dubai and 6th in the season's Order of Merit. Good season for Robert McIntyre, and we will have plenty more on the big match tomorrow. We'll be live from Hampden.
Absolutely, I'll be there with you.
Bring your layers.
Indeed, what I really want to know is what is the weather going to be like, and we will get to that in just a second with Chris. But first, thanks, Paul. Just before we go to the weather, a rather unusual take on what is something of a landmark in Glasgow city centre. This reimagining of the traditional cone on the Duke of Wellington's head in Royal Exchange Square is thanks to the street artist known as the Rebel Bear. This version, complete with a pigeon, its own mini cone, catching up on the day's news, has been turning heads today.
I just watched somebody walk past and say, "Is it a real pigeon?" Didn't know it's reading a paper. You would. It's just really cute.
It gives a new vibe, which I think Glasgow needs, really. Like, everybody knows the con, so now we've got a pigeon in a con and a newspaper, which actually spots the Glasgow vibe, really.
Oh, it's just brilliant. I love it. And the fact it's called the Daily Dropping, the newspaper, is just even better. You just can't make it up, can you?
Certainly a talking point. OK, the expert is here. What is it going to be like? I'm going to need a few layers.
You're going to need several layers. It's going to be really cold. It might even snow.
Wow. OK.
But
let's
talk about today's sunshine. Lots of it around today. What a crisp, lovely picture there from one of our weather watchers. Thank you very much indeed, Laura. Good evening to you. Yes, we do have some wintry weather on the way. It really is an early taste of winter this week. We've got rain, sleet and snow and ice. And tonight, Met Office yellow warning through Caithness, Sutherland, Murray and Aberdeenshire, with showers streaming in, falling on cold ground. Some icy patches around. Elsewhere, dry with some clear skies. And then a weather system moving in off the Atlantic, meeting the cold air and starting to bring some wintry weather. Temperatures overnight in towns and cities, barely above freezing, in the countryside down to -4. So to tomorrow, we've got this feature here moving in, meeting the cold air and bringing a spell of rain, sleet and snow. And in terms of the snow, there is a Met Office yellow warning for areas north of around Perth and inland. Snow down to around 150 metres, some poor conditions on high road routes in particular. Will it snow through the central belt through the day? Well, we have an ice risk with some snow showers through parts of central and southern Scotland, because you can see as that system moves in, we'll see some rain for sure, but also some sleet. And in the south, some snow on higher ground. So this is the picture around about mid-morning. You can see for many it's cloudy and wet. It's certainly cold. That snow with us across the higher ground, across the southern uplands. Further north, as I say, down to around 150 metres. That's the A9 there, so some poor conditions if you're travelling up and down. Outbreaks of rain across the west coast, the Hebrides and the Northern Isles, and a cold north wind. It will be a cold day throughout tomorrow. Now, as we head through towards the afternoon, it tends to dry up through central and southern Scotland for a time, perhaps even a bit of brightness towards the east as well, but that snow continuing across the higher ground inland through the Highlands, Highland Perthshire in towards Aberdeenshire as well. And then tomorrow evening, that system works its way southwards, and this is one to watch. We've got cold air digging in behind it. We could see something wintry to increasingly lower levels. It's one to watch. This is the picture through Tuesday night, all day Wednesday and Thursday, a cold northerly feeding in some snow showers and a risk of ice. Now, with that wind direction, most of those snow showers will be across northern and eastern parts of the country, many central and southern areas. Crisp sunshine, but goodness, it will be cold. 4 degrees at best if you're in the wind, feeling much colder than that. Towards the end of the week, high pressure tries to build in on Thursday, cutting off that northerly and quietening things down, but there's still a feed of snow showers again to lower levels around some eastern coastal parts. Elsewhere, dry with some sunshine, but it will be cold. Temperatures at best 2 to 5 Celsius. That's the forecast for now.
Eek, I feel cold already, Chris. Thank you. Now tonight's main news again. The Home Secretary has unveiled sweeping changes to the asylum system in the UK, including changes to the length of time someone will have to wait to apply to settle here permanently. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. I will have your late news at 10:30 tonight. And don't forget, The 7 is coming up shortly on the BBC Scotland channel. In the meantime, enjoy your evening. Good night.